Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Esteban Ocon, driver for Alpine, whatever. The rags rich story. Now, but listen, I don't really know too much about Esteban Ocon. That's what we are going to check him out. We are going to see what he's talking about. Also, like I said, big shouts to him for coming in eighth, for coming in P8 in Miami, the past race. So I think that's his first points this year. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong, but it's good to see him. Like I said, it's good to see different drivers, different teams having some success this year, not just dominated by the Ferraris, Mercedes, Red Bull. I mean, yes, the winners have all been either Verstappen or Leclerc, with credit to Red Bull and Ferrari, but we already seen like the Alfa Romeo's getting points, the Williams getting points, Alpines, how the hell you say it, and Aston Martin. Also, just the smaller teams. The smaller teams, a lot of us didn't really, predict. A lot of teams we know aren't that great, but we are getting points from them, so that's very, very good to see. But anyway, hope you guys are doing good. Amazing. Let's go ahead and start with the video. And shout out to my boy T again. Tomo, I did subscribe. So make sure you guys do subscribe to him. And I think that's it. No race this weekend. I think it's next week. We are going to be in Spain, yeah. And let's officially get started with the video.
Today's video is sponsored by
Squarespace.
Look, we're all acutely aware that motorsport is typically a sport for the wealthy. It's a shame, but it is kind of true. As spenny as you like at all levels, even in karting, high-level karting, you're talking six figures a season to run. That's not even in Formula cars. It's crazy. But today we're talking about Esteban Ocon, a man who is a clear exception to that rule.
Esteban Ocon.
Much is spoken of Lewis's rise from pretty humble beginnings in Stevenage, and rightly so. But Esteban's story, for me, is even more impressive. Now, the last time I talked about Esteban at length on this channel was when I was talking about him and Pierre Gasly and how they used to be besties, and now they don't particularly get along.
Damn! I didn't know that. I think the French Brotherhood, the French Connection, there'd be, some CLB certified, CHB certified homie boys, but, shit, I guess. That's weird. I don't know what happened between that.
Video, the two top comments kind of perfectly summarise the sentiment around Esteban Ocon at the moment. First being, always felt Ocon is an outsider in the new generation crowd. And second being, I don't think many people like Ocon, to be honest. And for the second one, I'm assuming they're talking about the drivers, not necessarily the fans. And as much as I tried to reinforce in that video, saying that most of the knowledge we have of their beef comes from Pierre's side, we haven't really heard Esteban's side. I do still feel like I kind of ended up siding with Pierre there. But in scripting this video and just focusing on Esteban's story, I don't know, I feel like this video might change a few minds, maybe make people hold Esteban, including myself, in a bit higher regard.
Now, I never knew people don't like Ocon. You guys let me know if you guys do like Ocon, or if you guys have a specific problem with him. It's my first time actually hearing about a potential issue with him. So it'd be interesting to see just the story, just what's behind that.
Maybe. So what are those humble beginnings? Well, Esteban grew up in Évreux in France, which is about an hour and a half drive from Paris. I've actually been through there a couple of times. And he was born on the 17th of September 19...
Damn, he's only 2 years older than me.
At the time of recording. His father, Laurent, is a mechanic, and it was this early exposure to motor vehicles that planted that racing seed. The family lived above the mechanic shop that Laurent ran, and from everything that Esteban said about his dad, he was a proper grafter. Still is a proper grafter.
Proper
He would work
grafter.
mad hours just to make sure his family supported. A reality for quite a lot of people, unfortunately. Growing up, Esteban was a huge Michael Schumacher fan, as many of us were from that generation. I was more of a Mika Hakkinen kind of guy, not going to lie. He used to don a Ferrari set of overalls for a lot of his karting races. And, fun fact, that is why Esteban's helmet designs are always red now, because of Schumacher. Now,
Hey, that's what's up. That's hard.
Just how much his parents put their lives completely on hold in order to support Esteban's early karting career. He mentioned this numerous times on the Beyond the Grid podcast that he did with Tom Clarkson, that his mum and dad just wanted a better life for him than they'd had for themselves. During these early karting years, they all lived in a caravan in which the three of them, plus their dog, Viper, would travel all around Europe participating in karting competitions. And it was all financed by the fact that they sold the family home and the mechanics. 3 years, just the three of them, van, caravan, that was it, that was the team. Everyone else got their big fancy motorhomes with loads of personnel and staff, and they'd just rock up every week, just the three of them.
Damn.
Also, his mum Sabrina would tutor him because, of course, when you're a junior in karting, you miss out on a lot of schooling. It's an inevitability, unfortunately. I know Lando's talked about missing a lot of school and childhood in general during his early karting years. But then again, Esteban now speaks like 4 languages, so he's certainly not sure.
That's hard.
Alright,
that's hard.
From Esteban, time to talk about today's video sponsor, Squarespace. Building and operating your own website used to be something you'd typically kind of outsource to an agent.
Damn, so he sold off. So they sold off the house and they lived in a caravan, just driving different kart competitions.
Code genuinely gives me terror.
Golly.
Squarespace, it could not be easier to build your
That's
very
tough,
own
man.
scratch on your own.
Hey, that just shows the power, like just
So
how much parents care for like their children. Like to go through all of that, man.
Proper nice. So you might as well give
To try to get like the best for like their kid.
Completely free trial, zero risk. You can play around with all the options, get to know the
And
platform.
see that he made it as well.
With all the tools at your disposal.
That's nice, man.
Ready to put your website live to the
All that hard work.
Code TOMOF1 or give the link in the top line of the description and tap for 10% off your first website or domain. Thank you Squarespace, and thank you for supporting the brands that support me. Now back to the video. The sacrifice and risk that the Ocons were taking to facilitate Esteban's karting career were significantly bigger than the vast majority of other people competing around him. He said it himself, from Esteban's point of view, it was all or nothing with motorsport. Although his dad did make sure that Esteban helped out working with the kart so that he could train those mechanic skills, because if it hadn't have worked, then mechanics is probably the route he would have ended up going down. I'm not being funny, with just the three of them, I'm sure Laurent was very grateful to have an extra pair of hands to help out. You got to think, surely the weight of expectation and the pressure, because Esteban would have known full well like how much his parents were sacrificing and putting on the line for his career, that must have just lit an extra bit of fire in him that you're not going to get from any other drivers who come from a more privileged background. There's something about graft and coming from very little that loads of professional athletes credit their success to, because they know how bad it can be. Esteban was eventually spotted by Eric Boulier at about the age of kind of 12, 13 and was drafted into the Renault Academy. This of course did massively reduce the financial burden that his parents were under, which was great, but then came a whole new level of pressure where Esteban just, like, he needed to perform, otherwise he'd be dropped. It is that brutal. And then just to wrap up the remaining kind of career progression after karting,
Tomo hard.
By 16 he'd reached Formula Renault, by 18 he'd done Formula 3 and DTM, and then in 2016 at the age of 19 he made his Formula 1 debut with Manor. You know what's mad to think?
The fuck is that?
The 2014 F3 title, he won it ahead of a certain Mr. Max Verstappen, and in a grid that was slammed with talent too. Ocon, Verstappen, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Seti, Camara, Cassidy. I could go on. But because the academy he was racing under, which had become Lotus from Renault, closed at the end of 2014, it was a very real prospect that he was going into 2015 F3 champion with no drive. Fortunately, in 2014, he'd made an impression with a certain Mr. Toto Wolff over that season.
Mr.
He was
Wolff.
able to secure a GP3 drive with ART, a season he'd go on to win. And of course we know about his time at Force India, and then he went away for a bit, and then he came back with Renault. So that's Esteban's journey. But what about the sentiment that people seem to have?
So it seemed like, you know, obviously when he met Buddy, like 12, 13 years old, Boulier, I guess that's how you say his name, obviously gave him a chance. He has pretty good success, winning a Formula 3 title over Verstappen. Phew, jeez. I think, but we already know about that, 2014. You can just, I think you can probably just see it early on that, you know, all he kind of needed was a chance because all the work that he went through. And when he got that chance, obviously, he performed well enough because at age 19, kind of similar to Verstappen, they're not even 20 yet, and they're already getting F1 experience. So, but obviously, we all know Verstappen's had a better career than Ocon, but still, that's impressive. Not tonight, you know, still be 18, 19 years old, and you are in Formula One, the top dog. You know what I mean? Top to top, where the big boys play
He's a bit
at.
of an outcast and is maybe not particularly liked amongst the paddock. Is that deserved or not? So people think he's a bit of an outsider, but when you actually look into it, like, surely no wonder. You've got to remember, he's competing in a sport that the vast majority of people participating in it have come from wealth. Since the earliest days of his career, he will have been seen as like the poor kid, for want of a better term. Look, I'm purely speculating here, of course, but I think I understand it. Look, kids can be cruel, and there's absolutely no question in my mind.
Mean as shit.
Esteban would have caught some flack in those early days, got teased by other drivers. They're all rocking up in their big motorhomes and fancy overalls and big teams, and he's just turned up with his mum and dad in their little caravan. Kids pick on kids that are different, and Esteban would have stood out. I can therefore imagine that he probably didn't click with the other drivers in the same way, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of them would have been racing for fun, but the increased pressure behind Esteban's situation meant that he must have had a completely different mentality to a lot of the other kids he was racing against. And that pressure probably, as well, made him overstep the mark, push a bit too hard sometimes. That probably would have come out in his racing at times as well. But again, even at that young age, being so aware of how much your parents are sacrificing to put you in that position, that must have a psychological impact on him. You know what's kind of ironic, right? Like, it seems that his best mate in the paddock is Lance Stroll, a man who couldn't come from more of a
That's what I'm saying.
side of the financial.
Because doesn't Lance Stroll's dad own like Aston Martin some shit? That is like a weird combination. You know what I mean? You got Ocon's side and he has Lance Stroll's side. But I think my respect for Ocon has just gone tremendously. I mean, when T said that, I'm just gonna call him T. But when T said that, you know, obviously, you know, he's a bit of an outsider just because of like just how he grew up compared to the other kids. Where's Ocon like compared to his other kids? I'm at F1. Where you at? You watching me? You watch me every Sunday.
But then again,
every 2 weeks.
Probably a bit of an outsider as well, but just again for the opposite reasons. All the investment, all of the support. The biggest of motorhomes probably stoked a bit of resentment in his peers at the time, and to be fair, in some people still to this day. In all the interviews I've heard Esteban speaking, he's come across incredibly humble, incredibly grateful, incredibly self-aware of where he's come from.
I'm a big fan, man.
Actually, proper working class hardship.
Leclerc is my guy, but my respect for Esteban has gone up.
Professional racing driver, full stop, would have been hard enough, let alone get into Formula One.
That's what I'm saying.
Respect it. It's an incredible.
That's what I'm saying.
I do come away from this video feeling a lot fonder about Esteban. It's a true like working class underdog hero story. He ticks all the boxes for that, and I love that. And looking at his performances now, again, 2020 wasn't a great start to the season, given, but you have to bear in mind it was his first season at the team. He's alongside Daniel Ricciardo, who's in his second season at the team, 7 times race winner Daniel Ricciardo, who I rate just behind Max and Lewis in terms of outright pace for me. It was always going to be a huge task to perform relative to his teammate, and to be fair, by the end of the season, he was getting very, very close, especially in qualifying. I know many are quick to dismiss Esteban, the incoming Fernando Alonso, I understand. 2 times world champion, I get it. But I genuinely believe Esteban has got the minerals to do better than Fernando in 21. I know that's not a popular opinion, but tough. But regardless, 2021 is going to be a huge year for Esteban. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate this.
Like I said, I appreciate for Ocon has gone. Like I said, I off bat, I couldn't remember every single race that, you know, he performed in, you know, what 5 races in, so I couldn't really go back and be like how he performed in every race. I just don't remember that. But like I said, I'm happy to see him performing well this year. Obviously Alpine haven't really been the best, but they've been, you know, I guess so just what you kind of expected. And hopefully Esteban just goes crazy, man. Like I said, my respect for him has elevated. Just hearing about his story, you know, and how he got to F1, I can't hate. But you guys let me know you guys' thoughts and reactions. Let me know if I've said anything stupid or retarded. you guys are pretty good, you know, of correcting me. And hopefully, you know, you guys stay safe, and we'll see you guys later.